what does Bohemian Rhapsody get wrong about Freddie Mercury's life story? Bryan Singer's biopic, which follows the band Queen's rise to fame, has been criticized by some fans for departing from the true version of events. So, how accurate is the movie's portrayal of Freddie Mercury's rise to stardom? Let's separate the fact from the fiction in Bohemian Rhapsody. Bohemian Rhapsody starts off by detailing how Queen got together in the first place and their humble beginnings. While it's true that Queen was composed of a surprising mix of characters, including an astrophysicist, a dentist, a Parsi immigrant, and an electrical engineer, the movie makes some significant changes to the story of how they all got together. In the movie, the young Farrokh Bulsara's musical journey begins as he's working as a baggage handler at Heathrow Airport. At this point, he is still young and shy, but after he witnesses bassist Tim Staffel quitting the band Smile after a performance, he musters up the courage to meet with the remaining members of the band, guitarist Brian May and drummer Roger Taylor. It's here that Mercury is hired as the band's new lead vocalist after impressing them with his talent. However, this differs greatly from Bulsara's true origin story. Indeed, not only has the singer's personality been changed, but the order of events too. While, in the movie, Freddie is depicted as shy, in reality, he was always supremely confident, according to Brian May. Not only that, but Freddie had even lived with the members of Smile for a while, and they joined Mercury and his own band, Ibex, for a show in Liverpool in 1969. Clearly, Freddie's encounter with Smile was not as spontaneous and unexpected as shown in the film. He was already familiar with the band members and even had his own group. So, does Bohemian Rhapsody accurately depict Queen's formation? No. One of the quirkiest details in the movie is Freddie Mercury's belief that his incredible singing voice is partly due to his big teeth. But did the real Mercury actually believe this? The singer's massive overbite is one of his most distinctive features, and Rami Malek successfully replicates it in his performance. But did it have any effect on Freddie's singing abilities? According to him, yes. Indeed, Mercury actually turned down a chance to have his teeth fixed because he was worried it might affect his voice. In the movie, there is a scene where Freddie explains to the other band members that he was actually born with additional incisors and that it's this extra space in his mouth that allows him to reach a wider vocal range. While Freddie did struggle with insecurities concerning his overbite throughout his life, he clearly overcame them and became proud of his teeth. And he was right to be, because he apparently went on to win an award for Most Contagious Smile in 1975. So, did Freddie Mercury really thank his big teeth for his great singing voice? Yes. One of the most interesting relationships in Freddie Mercury's life, as shown in the movie, is his relationship with a woman named Mary Austin. Indeed, the movie shows Freddie entering into a relationship with a boutique sales assistant in the 70s. They lived together for 6 years before Mercury finally admits to her that he has doubts about his sexuality and had affairs with men while he was on the road. Mary then moves across the road, but she and Freddie remain close until the singer's untimely death. As surprising as it may seem, this relationship is actually based in fact. Indeed, Mary Austin remained Freddie's confidant throughout his whole life. In a documentary, the singer even stated that, "The only friend I've got is Mary, and I don't want anybody else. To me, she was my common-law wife. To me, it was a marriage." However, while the movie shows Austin and Mercury growing apart a bit after she gets married, in reality, she worked as the secretary for his music and publishing businesses, which was a job he created specifically for her. And later, she even nursed him when he fell ill. Unsurprisingly, Mercury ended up leaving Austin half of his estate after his death, even entrusting her with the task of burying his ashes and never revealing the location to anyone else. She has kept that promise to this day. So, is Mary Austin a real person? Yes. If Mary Austin is Freddie's closest ally in the film, the character of Paul Prenter, played by Alan Leach, is certainly the film's primary antagonist. Prenter started as deputy to John Reed, played by Game of Thrones' Aidan Gillen, who was the band's manager at the time. However, he later took over as Freddie's manager himself. Indeed, in the movie, Paul Prenter is depicted as betraying Reed on Mercury's solo deal with CBS Records, eventually leading to Mercury firing Reed because of his apparent disloyalty to the other band members. After that, Prenter ends up turning Freddie's place into a party house when he moves out to Munich following the argument with the band, and even refuses to pass along messages from his friends, which makes Mercury feel more and more isolated. It's only after a visit from Mary that Freddie finally decides to fire Prenter and move back to England. So, was Paul Prenter a real person? Yes, he really was Freddie's manager from 1980 to 1985, and by all accounts, his depiction in the movie isn't too far off from the truth. Indeed, the other band members didn't like Prenter much, and he was generally perceived as somewhat of a parasite who was only looking out for himself. And Paul Prenter's villainous behavior was confirmed when Paul eventually outed Freddie and his lover Jim Hutton in an infamous interview with the British tabloid The Sun. So, was Paul Prenter really like that? Yes. The movie's depiction of Freddie Mercury's HIV diagnosis and the timeline of his illness are possibly the biggest changes the film makes to the true story it's based on. In the movie, Mercury's illness worsens in Munich, and he returns to London in 1985, where he is diagnosed and subsequently tells the other band members just before the big concert. Then, they all watch him give one of the greatest performances of all time, knowing full well that he doesn't have much time left. In reality, it is not known exactly when Freddie Mercury contracted HIV. Some say it could have been as early as 1982. However, he survived for 6 more years after the famous Live Aid show and didn't even tell his bandmates about the diagnosis until 1989. According to Roger Taylor, the singer once said this: "You probably realize what my problem is. Well, that's it, and I don't want it to make a difference. I don't want it to be known. I don't want to talk about it. I just want to get on and work until I fucking well drop." Clearly, Mercury didn't want people to see him differently or even live his life differently due to his disease. He wanted to keep working until he couldn't anymore, and that's exactly what he did. Freddie only publicly announced his diagnosis the day before he died. So, does the movie accurately portray Freddie's illness? No. The film spends a lot of time focusing on the fractures within the band, and from that perspective, the Live Aid concert is depicted as pulling Queen back together. However, was this legendary show really that important for the band's reunification? While this sequence does a great job of showing how brilliant and crowd-pleasing the performance was, making the audience understand why this is still considered one of the best live shows of all time, the Live Aid gig wasn't actually the band's last-ditch attempt at reunification. Indeed, Queen were still a functioning band at the time of the Live Aid concert. Their musical output had slowed down a bit, but they continued to tour throughout 1984 and 85, and even faced backlash for doing shows in apartheid South Africa, thus breaking a United Nations boycott. So, was the Live Aid concert the band's last chance at unification? No. In conclusion, while Bohemian Rhapsody presents a dazzling summary of the great Freddie Mercury's life, the film also cuts out or changes many important parts of the story, resulting in a controversial biopic that Queen fans may see as inaccurate. That's all for this video examining the fact and fiction of Bohemian Rhapsody. What was the most enjoyable part for you? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more fascinating content exploring the difference between movies and reality.